James Lamont from the National Security Network. How are you, James?
Good. How are you?
Good, good. It's we just were talking with Brian Bender of the Boston Globe about pulling out of Iraq, and we're going to be talking to you a little bit about the pullout of Gitmo from Guantanamo, if you will, and the idea that that Americans and Republicans specifically have been loath to pull out because they're afraid to put our Gitmo detainees in U.S. prisons. But that blue wall, has been broken, has it not?
It has. Last week, Peter Hoekstra, who is, he's one of the Republican Party's really their experts on security intelligence. He's the ranking member on the Intelligence Select Committee in the House, and he acknowledged reality and admitted that the American federal prison system can hold Guantanamo Bay detainees.
And, it's to me, it's always been the strangest argument that for some reason our prisons here are not good enough for Guantanamo detainees. That we can put Timothy McVeigh and Ted Kaczynski and any number of bombers that have Sheikh Rahman, Abdul Rahman, who was one of the masterminds of the 1993 bombings of the World Trade Center. We can put them there, but for some reason, these Guantanamo detainees are not, our prisons are not strong enough for them. I mean, it just seems like the most ridiculous argument.
It's like you said, these prisons already hold the worst of the worst. They have for years. And then you hear some of the stuff that some of the leadership and some of the conservative leadership has been saying, and they're not logical arguments. John Boehner talks about how we need to keep all terrorists off American soil. Mitch McConnell goes on about that scared that they're going to use their time in prison to plot attacks against us. Newt Gingrich goes on TV and says that we're going to have to put the terrorists on welfare, and they will have to pay for them as they integrate into American society. Meanwhile, these are not good conditions that the Supermax prisons are in. This 23-hour lockdown. They eat their meal. They spend every minute in the cell except for that 1 hour a day. If they're good, they get 1 hour of exercise outside of their cell. This is not a pleasant stay for these people.
No, it's more a commentary. If these Republicans, if these conservatives especially, are saying these things, and the roster of people that you just brought up, from John Boehner to Newt Gingrich, is pretty impressive on that end. If they're saying these things, it says more about the condition of our prison system here in America than it does about Guantanamo. I mean, I was frankly shocked at this argument. When these prisoners are in our backyard, it's not like you drive by the Supermax facility out in Colorado. I don't know what town it's in, but people are afraid for their lives because there are bad people inside that prison. No, they're inside that prison so that you're not afraid for your life. And the idea they could be plotting something, people could be plotting anywhere. They could be plotting in Guantanamo too. That argument never resonated with me, and I also never, sometimes I see what they're doing, even though I think it's ridiculous. I see where they're going with some arguments, and I see the political points to be scored. I never really saw that with this. I never really saw why, what their fear was, unless, and I'm only thinking this as I'm saying it now, unless they felt like by talking about it, it would somehow make people think that the Obama administration was soft on crime and soft on terrorism.
Yeah, that seems to be like you said, the areas surrounding them. That's the irony, is that the people who live in the communities most affected by these prisons, they don't mind. The Los Angeles Times did some reporting. They went down to Florence, Colorado, where the Supermax ADX is, and They interviewed people, and they basically came to the conclusion that most locals, they don't blink an eye at the idea of taking in the Guantanamo detainees.
Yeah,
they generally just don't care because they have the confidence in the prison system. They know that they can actually hold them, as opposed to what some of the Republicans are are saying.
Not to mention, most of the people that are already there have been, tried and convicted for the worst crimes in our country, and the Guantanamo detainees have not been. And there is a difference there as well. I mean, these might not even be the worst people that are going to be in their backyard. And I think that has to be said. The other part of it is that the people that made up, the idea to close Guantanamo was also a bipartisan movement, was it not?
Well, there are some conservatives playing politics, but
Hey, James, I'm going to have to interrupt you, and we're going to try and fix this because we're getting a bad signal from your phone. But where I was going with this, if we can fix it or if we can, get James back on the line, is that there was a panel that was made up of former secretaries of state: Henry Kissinger, Madeleine Albright, Colin Powell, James Baker, and Warren Christopher. And they all agreed, some who served under George H.W. Bush, some who served under George W. Bush, they all agreed that Guantanamo should be closed. And this is a quote. They said forcefully, "Close Guantanamo. We were on a panel together several months ago," and this is James Baker, "and we all agreed one of the best things that could happen would be to close Guantanamo, which is a very serious blot upon our reputation." General David Petraeus also said, "With respect to Guantanamo, I think that the closure in a responsible manner, obviously one that is certainly being worked out now by the Department of Justice, indeed what to do with the detainees who are now left, how to deal with them in a legal way, and if continued incarceration is necessary, again, how to take that forward. But doing that in a responsible manner," this is David Petraeus, "I think sends an important message to the world, as does the commitment of the United States to observe the Geneva Convention when it comes to the treatment of detainees." James Lamont back on the line. So I was just going over that panel, bipartisan panel of secretaries of state. And saying that the decision was not a unilateral Obama administration decision.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the people who really know the world and know how to, and are really talented diplomats, people like that panel that have been at the Secretary of State level, they understand that this is a bad image for America abroad, and it's really hurting the opinion of America everywhere. And one of the things that's really helped change the opinion of America abroad has been President Obama's commitment to closing Guantanamo Bay.
So tell me, James Lamont, and we're joined by James Lamont from the National Security Network. Tell me what the steps are now. Where are we in the chronology of closing Guantanamo? What has to happen next, and what will happen to these detainees, and how many of them will end up in the United States and other countries?
Well, there's a review that's still pending from the Obama administration that was ordered on the second day of the administration, and it has continuously been pushed back, and basically that's because it's a very complicated situation. The Bush administration really left behind a political, a legal, and a security mess behind when they left Guantanamo Bay in the state that it was for President Obama and the new administration. So we're still waiting to hear what comes out of the policy review, but that would be the first step as to what happens.
Okay, and as it stands right now, Guantanamo is open and flourishing. And what agreements, do we have any idea of what agreements have been made with other countries as far as sort of spreading these, detainees out into different prisons in other NATO countries or allies?
There's been some cooperation with France. Macedonia earlier, a while back, took in a few prisoners. There's a plan for some of the Uyghurs who have gotten a lot of attention. Who there's a plan that they're going to go to Palau, and or at least some of them, I should say.
Right.
And no, I mean a lot of our allies are looking to us for leadership. They say that we have these prisoners, and they want us to take them in also. So they don't, which is a fair argument, but
right. Are we the only country that is holding out, or are there other countries that said absolutely we will not take them?
No, there are many allies that have still refused to take them until the United States brings them onto their own soil.
And that's what I mean, I guess. Are they saying? Is there anyone who's saying even if we take them, they will not?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't heard that either, and I'm not sure. And I would guess that the only reason is because not every country has the infrastructure. We happen to have this prison in Denver, in I guess Florence, as you said, Florence, Colorado, that is the most state-of-the-art prison in the world, and it seems like it would be the logical place, even better than Guantanamo, to keep these people. And the whole argument that they could plan something there it seems absurd, especially after what you said about the way that prison is structured: 23 hours lockdown, 1 hour on good behavior, out. It seems like the worst place to be, and probably the best place for these detainees to be. What's going to happen to Guantanamo once we leave? Do we know what? Will it be a military base again?
Well, yeah, there are a few people around who have argued that we should just close down the whole military base and give it back to Cuba. There was a Council on Foreign Relations senior fellow who wrote an op-ed in the Washington Post a couple months back. But as of right now, the plan is to just keep it as it is and close the detention center.
Right, until Donald Trump buys it. Donald Trump will buy it, and he'll open the Trump Guantanamo. It'll be fantastic. But seriously though, there are people that are trying to figure out what to do with it at that point. Now, is it as simple? And I'm asking you questions that I don't even know you know the answer to, but I'm now curious about. Is it as simple as just saying, "Here you go, Cuba"? Take it back, or?
I'm not an actual lawyer, but
no, I know you're beyond. You're out of your job description here. I'm just
asking. I think it would play a big part in the overall change in policy towards Cuba, and it would be a long-term policy change that would be part of a much larger package.
We're speaking with James Lamont from the National Security Network. And finally, going back to the thesis of what you're talking about, Peter Hoekstra, from Michigan, the Republican, who said that it's time that we bring them here. Has that been contagious? Have other people, now that he has broken rank on that, has anybody else followed him in that spirit?
Well, that was just a couple of days ago, so... There's been not a lot of Republicans coming out, but there has been on the same day the top attorney at the Pentagon came out and said that there's still a chance that we could bring Guantanamo detainees to American soil. He said that he made a point of saying that they're not going to release any dangerous terrorists into the general public, which I think we all knew, but there were a lot of conservatives who were going around with this myth that detainees were going to be released into the public. He made a point of saying that they will only go to America's most secure prisons,
right?
Which, again, we all knew, but
I love the people that think that they're just gonna come here and they're gonna let them go at Key West and that'll be the end of it. I mean, it's just. Anyway, you can read more of James at the website is nsnetwork.org. James Lamont, thanks for coming on to the Young Turks and enlightening us to what's going on in Guantanamo. And as things change, we'll be in touch with you on that. Okay.
Thanks a lot for having me.
Watch more clips at theyoungturks.com.